Okay, everybody, welcome. I want to welcome you on behalf of the Work That Reconnects Network. My name is Jo Delamore, and we are so grateful for you being here with us at this webinar and Conversation Cafe event. In the Webinars and Conversation Cafe series, we're offering a wide range of rich, educational, and supportive opportunities for our global community of Work That Reconnects facilitators, members, and friends of the network. Our intention is to strengthen the web of the Work That Reconnects community while continually reaching beyond our current edges to weave deeper connections with others who are contributing to the great turning in diverse and complementary ways. Today, we are participating in the global Elm Dance, and we had our first global Elm Dance event yesterday, facilitated by Kathleen Rude, and today we will be facilitated by Frieda Nixdorf. And it's so wonderful to see everybody here gathered together. So I'm going to pass it over to Frieda now.
Thank you, Jo. So welcome, everyone. My name is Frieda. I join you from California, where the land rises out of the oceans and rolls and undulates up into forming the backbone of the western edge of this part of Turtle Island. So I live in the foothills on lands that were originally walked and tended and lived upon by the Nisenan peoples for thousands of years before settlers and gold miners ever arrived. So the Nisenan are still here and continue to seek recognition that this land was never ceded. And the Nisenan were nearly decimated. So I've asked Jo if she would share a link to their website in the chat so that you too can know their stories if you choose. Thank you, Jo. So I must say that although I'm familiar with and have experienced the Elm Dance, offering it virtually is new and something that I'd never thought I'd step into. But as part of the network staff team, we value and continually support each other in our willingness to lean into our edges. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I acknowledge that this offering is way beyond me, and I do feel the edge of that. And I recognize that I'm simply in the place of ability to share it with a good number of people, along with my colleague and dear friend, Kathleen, who shared it yesterday. And I know that many facilitators and community members have been sharing it in their offerings and in their communities, and will continue to, and likely many of you on this call. And likely many of you on this call have also yet to experience the dance. So here we are all in our growing edge of experiencing it virtually together. So here we are. So my name is Frieda. I'm a facilitator of the Work That Reconnects and a member of the network staff and Weavers team. When we received this request from one of our community members, Caroline, she shared that she had a dream of a global Elm Dance experience. And it was not just a one-time thing, it was a regular experience shared weekly, and her vision was to share it weekly on Sundays. So that's part of the offering and part of what I am dreaming into, because when I read her email, I nearly leapt out of my seat with a big yes, because I'd had a similar dream, and it didn't really become clear until receipt of her email. And so I said yes, and then I said, really, can I do that? But the yes was bigger than the fear. So here we are. So I'm going to provide just a brief history of the Elm Dance, but first just to acknowledge that it is typically danced in a group setting on the land, if possible. And here we are as individuals and some groups, some communities in virtual space. So, and for us individuals, the Elm Dance is danced in community. And so we have this experience of dancing it with people next to us and in circles, so around us, sometimes concentric circles, depending on the size of the group. And so I'm actually going to invite you to drop in for a moment and just sense into this community. We have now 69 people on the call, and imagine that we were standing in circle together, that our bare feet were on the land, and that we were beautifully supported on the land, and the temperature of the air and the weather, and we're experiencing being held by Gaia and held together in circle. And that in this place, we could feel the presence of each other. This is something that some of us are just starting to lean into, that feeling of being in personal connection, in close proximity, is still new for some of us. And so imagining into that feeling of being in circle and actually starting to step closer to each other. And just noticing the energetics of the circle. Some people may be familiar. Some of us may be new to each other, new faces and new names. But as we approach this circle, we come close enough that we can start to link hands. And this is something that I really miss, standing in circle and linking hands. So I'm just going to feel that. I'm actually putting my hands out to the side, and I welcome you to do the same. And just feel what it would feel like to be hand in hand. Right. So there's a much larger picture to this dance. Joanna Macy joined the offering yesterday, and she shared some of her story of her experience in first offering the dance, and we'll share some of that with you today. But just to bring us there, Joanna began offering the Elm Dance as part of workshops that she was offering in the early 90s in communities that were impacted by the Chernobyl disaster in April 1986. So at Chernobyl, the core of the nuclear reactor exploded and sent radioactive material throughout the land. And this at the time was the worst nuclear disaster, and it really actually continues to be a disaster. There's an exclusion zone around the area, and they continue to try to contain the material. And as we know, that radioactive material stays with us for 240,000 years. So this is way, way beyond us and our existence right now. So Kathleen Rude facilitated yesterday, and she offers a really beautiful overview and understanding of that really extremely delicate balance of what we're facing with nuclear power, and that it really is a continued threat. And the roots of the work that Reconnect are really within that experience of being faced with these forces really beyond what I can imagine, and what they could mean and have meant to life on this planet, on Gaia. So we'll share the link to the videos. Both of them will be up by the end of today, and I encourage you to watch them both and receive Kathleen's story there as well. And really, the big piece of that is that we are facing at any given moment, we could experience a meltdown in any of these reactors again. Sometimes it has, for me, this feeling of imminence. So back to Chernobyl. When Chernobyl melted down, that radioactive material was picked up by the wind and it began to disperse throughout Russia and Europe. But then the wind shifted and the material started gathering into a cloud. And this cloud was headed straight towards Moscow. And so the Soviet government made the decision to seed the cloud so that the material would release and rain. And that rain ended up raining down on Novozhivkov. Trying my best with pronunciations. And the community was completely unaware of what was happening, that they were being inundated with radioactive material. So this feels really relevant because right now, Russian troops, as we know, have invaded Ukraine and are in the vicinity of plants there, including around the area of Chernobyl. And any threat to the system, to the shutdown of the power grid around these plants, the power that feeds these plants, could be disastrous. So I know I'm feeling a lot of concern over the imminence of the situation, and I'm just reminded that the threat is not just right now, but it's continual. And the forces, as we're reminded of the forces that humanity has unleashed in the world, we're recognizing that we don't have full control over them. And so here we are meeting in dance, because sometimes there's not much else we can do. Yeah, Joe, would you please share the map? That would be helpful. Just to kind of get a sense of where we are. And you can see up at the top is Moscow. And if you wander down, you'll see Novozhivkov and Chernobyl. So that was the path of the cloud heading towards Moscow. Yeah. So, so back to the dance. Because this is the work that reconnects, to stand in our fear and our grief and our uncertainty and support each other in witness as we lean into those spaces, as we lean into the pain, as we honor the pain, and we allow the movement of those emotions to really inform our way forward. The Elm Dance was originally choreographed by Anastasia Gang in Germany in the 1980s. And it was set to the Latvian song, again, my pronunciation, I'm doing my best, Kā man klājas by Ieva Akoratere. So Joe, I wonder if you would share the slide. Actually, yeah, let's pause and let's, before we get into the lyrics and more into the song and the dance itself, let's hear from Joanna and the history of how the dance originated through the work that reconnects through her. Thank you, Rita. Oh, Joe, we lost it.
I'm sorry. Could you hear it originally?
No.
You couldn't hear? Okay, I'm Zoom audio thing. Let me just restart it. I just Something in my settings.
Changing experience for
Sorry about that. Okay, we're going to try this again.
And let these people respond.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for bringing me back to this life-changing experience and share it so beautifully. I just brought, they were little cassettes, these two dances that I had learned in Germany simply because I didn't speak Russian and or Ukrainian, and which are very, very similar. And I wanted to be able to do something without needing an interpreter, namely dancing. And the dancing, folk dances, circle dances had been very popular in this area of Russia and in the towns. What we were coming across, southern Byelorussia and dipping down to northern border of Ukraine but then we went across the border into Russia to Novosibkov. This was a region called Bryansk, and it begins, this Novosibkov was only 100 miles or so from this and from the react. So I was shocked. We'd worked very hard to name this workshop and give it a good Soviet sound, and they didn't want. I said, "What is this? We've come all this way, and now they want us to talk about family relations." And one of the Russians who had brought us there, and he loved these people. He was a psychologist from Moscow, but he was down within hours of the word came out about the tragedy. He was right there in the engine room with people, and then he kept going back because of what had happened to these people, that they had then been the clouds were seeded as the wind was taking the radioactivity toward Moscow, and everything just dumped down on them. And so he saved this for the end of our trip. And so I thought, here I've come all this way and they won't talk about Chernobyl. But said, okay. And we invented and used and thought up and shook our brains and we did all kinds of things about family relations, and still no word until it was a 3-day workshop in Novosibkov. No town was more affected than this one. And they enjoyed remembering times when they had, before the event, before the radioactivity. And we got them to remembering that in their group work. And they'd said for the first time we were smiling in 6 years, remembering how it used to be. But Saturday afternoon, we did a deep time exercise of harvesting the gifts of the ancestors. And when I was bringing them back up through time, reached the year 1986, And at that point, they stopped. I was just beginning to move in toward the top, my voiceover, the music, and they stopped. They said, "We're not going back. We're not going back to that tragedy. We're not going back to what happened at Chernobyl. We're not going back." And by the very fact that they were refusing, they named what they refused to go back to. And it all poured out with anger and tears. "No, don't bring us there. Don't bring us to how it was. Remember that morning? Remember, I was standing and I waved you." They were talking to each other about all that had happened, about that hard first awful day. It was sunny, but there was a white ash falling. And then this torrential rain. And they figured out what was happening. The government never told them, the Muscovites never told them, but they figured it out. And then the illnesses. So the next morning, or at one point, yes, that evening, all of a sudden they turned on me and they said, "Look what you've done. We were having such a good time with these nice exercises and now you've made us remember. Why have you done this to us? Will our tears, or as we remember," and one woman who was the last to speak, shouting almost, she said, "I have 2 little girls, and every time I look at them, I wonder if what tumors are growing in their bodies. Will my tears ever save them from the tumors? Will that make any difference to the horror that has overtaken us?" And then they went home. No, but we had given them the Elm Dance, and so they wouldn't even go home until they loved. Now I need to tell you that the folk dances were big in this area of Russia and Ukraine. All the borderlands there, and but they hadn't danced since Stalin. But they were yearning for it. And so to dance the Elm Dance was something very, very solemn and important for them. And they did it with a great seriousnse. And it is, as you'll hear, sort of sedate and beautiful. So they insisted that they wanted it twice a day, in the morning and at night. But I wondered if anybody would come back the last morning. They'd been angry. And that was very unusual because they were very polite and they were dressed in their very best clothes to come to this and meet these Americans and their good friend from Moscow. But in the morning, there they all were. They were 50 of them in a big circle. And I thought I'd so failed. I thought I had wrecked everything somehow. And so I said, we meeting, and the silence was electric. And I said, "Well, it was hard last night, wasn't it? How are you feeling today?" And the woman who had spoken about her 2 daughters stood up. They all stood to speak like children do in school in Russia. And they And she said, "Oh, it was terrible. I had a terrible night. I was crying all night." And then she said, "But this morning I feel different. I feel like there's more room inside me. And I feel like it's like when we dance the trees and we reach out and we take each other's hands. That's why I'm feeling about people now that we've talked about it." So the last day together, there was such closeness between them. And they were so full of plans about what they would do. They were so much, they were so alive. And so they wanted to make copies of the cassette, of course, of the Elm Dance. And I was so in love with them by then. And I said, "I will tell your story wherever I go, wherever I teach or share the work or teach a course. I will tell your story." Well, when I got home, that was our very last day of work, or place of workshop. And I stopped in Salzburg the very next week because there was the world's first uranium hearing. And I told about Novosibkov. But what I found was that I had promised them that I would tell their story wherever I taught. But it's hard to say, with people, "I've got a real depressing story to tell you," sit down. So I couldn't do that. So what I found I did was to say, "Hey, I've got a dance. I'll teach you a dance." And then teaching the dance allowed me to tell their story. And there was a lot of it to tell, that more than I could squeeze into those minutes. And so then the dance itself changed in a way. As people linked up, I would say, "Now imagine you're there, and you're taking the hands of, Igor and Svet and these Russian men and women who are building their lives in that radioactive place, and could tell it and be, and then it became, we built things into it. Like in the very first part, we would be feeling our solidarity, and then in the next round, we would be calling out what we were worried about, whether it was about the salmon or the acid rain, and that was a beautiful. It became an ever richer kind of experience.
Yeah.
We
Thank you, Joe. So, yeah, so Joanna speaks of her promise to continue to tell the story of these people of Novosibkov, their experience, and she has shared the dance with us. She continues to share the story with us as she did yesterday. And the dance, the Elm Dance, has really become one of the foundational practices of the work. And facilitators continue to offer it throughout workshops. And for me, what really stands out in her sharing of the story is in part the intensity of the emotion that she shares the story. She was there, and this was 6 years after the disaster, and families were continuing to experience the impacts of the radiation. And through this workshop, they had been, I cannot say that I was there or know their experience, but it feels like through this workshop, they were taken right back into the heart of that experience, the experience that they were avoiding, the trauma of the experience that they were avoiding, and just wanting to move on with their lives. They, this horrible thing was done to them by the powers that be, and they had no course of action to take to protect themselves or for the world to know the harm that was done to them. And so when we step into the Elm Dance, the intention, and I'll share a little bit more about that, the intention is, it is a movement of intention, of setting an intention, of centering an intention, and offering that intention out to the world, to humanity. And yet, once we received this story, we carry the seed of that story in our hearts. And I'm feeling the seed of that story in the moment. I'm feeling the emotions of that, the seed of that story. So perhaps you too are feeling the seed of the story that Joanna has shared with us and the experience of the people that she worked with. And so that is welcome here. So let's continue feeling what we're feeling, and let's start to carry this into the dance. So Joe, I wonder if you would mind sharing the slide with the Latvian song. Iva Akoratere. So, Kā man klājas? What will you give to me, mother, for living for other? The little golden apple tree will bloom and ring out like morning mist. What will it give to you, dear mother, that your dear son will not die? There is no answer. The grove of oak trees starts to tremble in the wind. Just the trees prepare for the autumn. There is no answer. All my jokes evaporate. All jokes fall flat. There is no answer. Only now my feet step more confidently on our own earth. That's why, friends, how it's going with me, may no one at all find out what's happening with me. So this is the song, and you will be playing a video of the dance with the music and the words, and you'll be hearing it in Latvian. And these are the steps that we've written here. I'll be talking you through it before we watch the video. We'll move through 3 rounds of the dance, along with the video playing each time. So we're offering this here so you can just read through it so you have a sense of how we'll be moving. The dance is set to 4 beats. So we're moving 4 steps to the right, imagining that we're in circle, pausing for a count of 4 beats, and swaying as the elms perhaps are swaying, or the trees outside your window, and moving 4 steps each time, starting with the right foot, and then moving 4 steps inward towards the center of the circle, and again swaying. We're raising our arms, releasing hands, and swaying as the trees sway, the branches of the elm trees, and taking 4 steps backwards, and again continuing around the center and repeating the process. So hopefully it will become more clear as we make our way into it. Thanks, Joe. So doing this movement on our own can feel a little bit different than in circles. So I encourage you to just find your own way in moving through the steps. And as my son is 13, and this generation loves to celebrate their awkwardness. And I always hear them saying, "Oh, that was awkward." So if we're feeling that, this was not the experience of my generation. We have to do everything perfectly, but we're letting go of that and we're celebrating our awkwardness. And I can see that Molly and her family, Molly's so deeply rooted in this work, is already dancing, and wow. So here we are. Let's come to a place of standing. And just feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your feet on the earth, feeling your center, feeling whatever is moving through you, the story that we've just heard, the stories, the background of the dance, your own experiences with the dance, or your stepping into mystery. So can't decide whether you can see my face or you can see my feet. And then here, grounded and centered, feeling Gaia, and then starting to feel the circle of these beautiful humans on this call with us, and imagining that we're standing in circle. Imagining that we were holding hands. So I'm going to start a little bit over to the side, and I myself am going to make my way through a circle through the steps. So we just start, as the music starts playing, we just take a moment to ground, and then we just sway from right to left to a beat of 4. And then starting with the right foot, we're going to take 4 steps to the right. And then we're going to pause here, swaying 4 times. And then we're going to take another 4 steps. So if you have a tiny space too, just making your way into that space, however works for you and feels right. And then again, swaying 4 times. And then here, we have our hands together, and we're going to come 4 steps into the center of the circle, raising our hands overhead. And we can release hands, and then again, swaying 4 times from right to left. Releasing our hands, linking up with our friends, and taking 4 steps back. And swaying 4 times. And then we continue. All right. So just finding your center. Joe is going to play the video. And when it first starts, it will be completely silent, and you'll see Joanna walking in silence. And so give it a minute, and then the music will start. And you can follow along with the dancers on the screen. We're going to go through 3 rounds. So the first round is just an opportunity for you to start to feel the moves, start to feel the dance, and for you to center. And just be with whatever emerges, feeling that heart space. And then the second round, I'll pop in as a reminder, and Joe will replay the video. Again, the video is, I think, about 4 minutes long. And the second round will be for offering and honoring our pain for the world, and speaking for those who are suffering, the land that is suffering, the beings that are suffering, however you feel called. You're all on mute. So I invite you to give voice to those beings, to name them out loud, to bring them into your space. And then the third and final round will be an opportunity for us to offer and honor that which brings us joy, that which we're grateful for, that which connects us and holds us. Again, bringing your voice into your space and naming that. All right, ready, Joe? Joe, I'm not hearing sound. We get to do a
I'm so
redo.
sorry. No
That's
sound?
okay. Yeah, there was no sound.
Oh no.
It's okay.
Let's try that again.
Often dances take more than one take, so.
Right. Share sound. Share sound. Okay.
And I'll also just add that if you're not feeling called to dance or stand, this dance can also be felt sitting, and you can move your body in swaying or however feels right to you in that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to try it again here. If Frieda, will you text me if you're not hearing it? Because I can't see the chat at the same time that it's playing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Why don't you test it where the music is first and then rewind to the beginning?
So right here.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we can hear that.
Okay, great.
Os
So for the second round, this is a time for honoring and offering our pain for the world. So as you're muted, please speak aloud into your space for those who may be suffering. For this third round, the time to honor and offer that which brings us joy, that which we're grateful for, and that which connects us and holds us.
Name.
So before you return to seated, if you're still standing and you feel called, let's just take a moment of silence and maybe even coming down to the ground and connecting in and touching to Gaia. I'm just gonna come down here and make a connection. So let's set gallery view so that we can see each other, this community that we've been dancing with. And I know we're at the top of the hour, and I invite you to maybe turn to chat and anything that you want to share. You're welcome to just paste in there and let us know what your experience was with this dance. Thank you, Ushi. I see you. Jamie, thank you. It was so amazing. I had no idea this had anything to do with oak trees, but today I visited oaks and wrote this. And then at the first sound of the song, I welled up with tears, still feeling it now. Yeah, deeply moved, brought me right to center like water. It was so soothing. I reconnected to the many times I've already danced this dance and felt connected with ancestors and future beings. Thank you, Barbara. Beautiful, peaceful time together to honor all the feelings. Thank you. Simple yet very moving. What a blessing to finally experience this after hearing of it so many years ago from a German friend. I dedicate my dance today to Ukraine and its suffering again now as in history. It was lovely to repeat 3 times. Feelings changed each time. Yeah. Yeah. I was in a group that was videoed for this dance. Oh, where'd it go? It was amazing to go back in time and dance along with my old friends and with myself in past time. I love learning this dance. It feels so familiar, like it is in my DNA. My ancestors are from Latvia, and this is, oh, I just lost it. And this is the first time I have heard their voices. Oh, brings me to tears. Wow, everyone. So we are inviting you to continue the dance. If you're already offering it, continue to offer it. If you aren't offering it, continue to feel it and allow it to move through you. And Joe's going to share some links. We will follow up with an email and share sources and some resources for the dance. And Caroline's dream was that this continue and that we offer it weekly, and she's in the Netherlands and they've been experiencing it in person there weekly. So I posted her sharing some pictures on the Facebook group. So Joe will be sharing that. Yeah, thank you all for joining us today, and many blessings to each one of you. So beautiful to see your faces and be in this space with you. Yeah. Thank you all. Joe.
Frieda,
Yes.
do we want do we want to share anything specific about this week of the Elm Dance and how people can share videos, how we can kind of create a sense of feeling this through the week?
Thank you. Yeah. So you can email us, Joe. What email address should they share? Or you can post videos, photos if you're a part of a community dance to our Facebook page. If you're not on Facebook, you can email them directly to us. And we'll follow up with a newsletter just sharing some of these stories. So if you feel called to share a story of your experience, please do that as well. We're really excited about this movement right now and sharing it. So yeah, and as you leave, I know that a few of you have already had to leave, but for those, just as you step away from the space, just continue to feel the community here that we've been in, and the wider community that is here and holding and offering these bodies of work, and how they continue to move through us and support us in these really trying times. So anything else you want to add, Joe?
No, we'll be sending a follow-up email, so it'll have links. All these links will be in the email, so if you missed any, that's okay. And the recordings will be posted up on the website really soon. And if you can share any experiences that you're having dancing the Elm Dance in your community, if you can gather a small group or a large group and share pictures and videos, it'll just be nice to see that on the Facebook page, of feeling like we're in that larger circle. You know, we're dancing in a circle around the earth in that way, our larger community. So thank you all so much for being here.
Catherine, your question, yeah, any time really worldwide that works. We're in so many time zones, so whenever works. Yes, and blessings to all the children that I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for gathering with your families and bringing your families and your children here.
How to save the chat. If you go to where you would paste in chat or text in chat, there's 3 little dots and you can see a save chat message if you click on those dots. There's so many jewels here in the chat.
Mm-hmm. All right, blessings. Bye.
Blessings, everyone.
Bye, Martina and family. It's so good to see you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.